Welcome. The sad irony is that as the Atlantic slave trade was being abolished, Arabs in Eastern Africa continued in Islamic slave trade and even expanded it. This is one of the facts of many other facts that we are going to deal with and share with today, so that we will never forget or forgive what Islam did and is doing to Bantus today. We will also have to deal with the Nation of Islam, particularly great African leaders like Malcolm X, and how Islam controlled his efforts and his work. The title that we have proposed for this discussion is What We Need Not to Forget About Islam. What Islam tries to hide from a lot of people. Islam is doing a lot of marketing itself as a religion of peace and tolerance, while smearing Christianity. While millions know a lot about transatlantic slave trade, almost a lot also do not know and are ignorant of Islamic hatred of Ubuntu Ma'ati spirituality. Subtle doctrinal tricks, issues like Islam spread across all of Africa peacefully, and that it tolerates native African beliefs. The reality is that Islam began in the 1600s and 700s and invaded North Africa and also proceeded into sub-Saharan Africa with a lot of bloodshed, brutality, merciless conquering armies accompanied by traders, religionists, and merchants. It's still the status quo today. The Arab slave trade is the longest, yet least discussed of the two major slave trades. It began in the 7th century under the banner of Islam, with the Quran and a mandate, a divine mandate. Arabs trade blacks in South and East Africa predates the European Atlantic slave trade into Americas by almost 700 years. It is still going on in this year, in 2021, because white Arabs are still occupying and controlling Africa, the so-called Middle East. For over 900 years, Africans were enslaved by Arabic slave traders. Black men, women, and children were bound together by the waist and neck and force marched for hundreds of miles to slave trades. We should never forget this, but this is what they want you and me to forget or tolerate. Religious untruths. What we need not forget about Islam is that they claim that they are monotheists. They are not monotheists. They do not tell the truth that most of their practices are predated by many other religions, specifically by African traditional religion. Issues like circumcision, which they practice, started as an African traditional initiatory practice and is found throughout the whole continent of Africa, not only for males but also for females, which a lot of campaign is going on to eradicate instead of reforming it and modernizing it. Plain abuse are tolerated. What we need not forget about Islam is that Bantu converts into Islam have either been totally deceived or they deceive themselves, because they should feel angry at seeing these practices that they tolerate and support by being members of that religion. Even the word slave, abid, became a colloquialism for African. Other words such as haratin express social inferiority of Africans in Islam. Ignoring your own history is what they are taught when they become members of any organization that propels Islam. In his book, Slaves and Slavery, published 1998, the British writer Duncan Clark defines slavery as the reduction of fellow human beings to the legal status of chattels, allowing them to be bought and sold as goods or stock. This is, in essence, what both the Arabs and Europeans did to Africans to justify the shipping of millions of Africans enslaved to faraway lands for sexual and labor exploitation. We must never forget this, nor forgive such actions. Over several centuries, countless East Africans were sold as slaves by Muslims and Arabs to the Middle East and other places via the Sahara Desert and Indian Ocean. 3 out of 4 slaves taken from East Africa died from hunger en route to the slave markets. Look at that. This is the religion called Islam that did all this. And a lot of our brothers and sisters are converting into this religion thinking that they have found something worthwhile. Like the Bible, the Quran teaches the enslavement of other humans. The Quran accepts enslaving other humans. You can read Quran 33:50. Prophet, we have made lawful to you the wives to whom you have granted dowries, and the slave girls whom God has given you as booty. What Islam want to hide from you? Straightforward. Who is a kafir? A kafir is an Arabic term which means infidel, rejector, denier, disbeliever, unbeliever. One of its use in the Quran by the 15th century was used by Muslims in Africa to refer to the non-Muslim African natives. Many of those kufari, that's what they say. It's from the etymology in the Quran, types of unbelievers. This is what they want you not to remember. Where are the millions of slave descendants in the Arab world? What we need not forget about Islam is what they did to our ancestors. They castrated black slaves. This is genocide. If you are a member of these religions that destroyed our ancestors, you are a sellout. Do not want you to remember that. Stubborn, castrated slave begging for forgiveness. Look at that. And you are a member of Islam or a Muslim group. You are a member of a religion that destroyed, abused, committed brutality on our ancestors, continues to commit brutality today in Libya and many other places of our own brothers. They hate and they don't like us. It's clear, straightforward. There are the images. The truth is there. We have read in the Quran how they think about it. They do not want you to know that there are contradictions in the Quran. The Arabic slave trade and the role of Islam in African slavery is documented. There is the proof of total abuse. Women, males, young men, all totally being abused. And you are a member of this religion. Are there contradictions? Yes. You read here in Quran 2:178, it says, "O you who have believed, prescribed for you is legal retribution for those murdered, the free for the free, the slave for the slave, and the female for the female." And then they say, no, righteousness is for freeing slaves. Quran 2:177. Just a one verse, there is already contradiction, and you are a member of such a religion. Arab slave trade ushered in the European slave trade. The Europeans were introduced to chattel, African chattel, by Arabs. Even amongst us, there were other Bantus like this genocide, Tipotip, who were enslavers. And it is important to note that Arab is not a racial classification. An Arab is almost like an American in that classified as an Arab today could be Caucasian or white people, Asiatic or even Arabized Africans. Hey, is it straightforward? There is the two of them. And there is a history of Arab slave trade. See how abuse is going in. Look at that. Look at the yokes. Look at how they are chained by Arabs and Muslims who read and believe in the Quran. What we need not forget about Islam is that there is no Middle East. It's all Africa. All the oil is African oil that they are exploiting and benefiting from. Not real and original religion, but stolen. Africa, stolen in legacy, bastard. There, this is our ancestor. The way he prayed, Muslims stole their prayer tradition from Africa, recycled and rearranged it, and then sold an imitation to the black Muslims who foolishly believe it is purer than the original. Though Islam stores superficial borrowings from Hamitic tradition, Islam has very little to do with Hamitic spirituality or Hamitic spiritual science. When Islam arrived, Hamid was almost hundreds of thousands of years old. With all the discoveries, Arabs did not discover even one thing. even in science, even in mathematics. Forget all about that. How would the nation of Islam that produced eminent leaders like Muhammad Ali, the heavyweight boxer, prolific orator, Malcolm X, think on these issues we have highlighted? That we need not forget about Islam included, the highlight being the Islamic slavery of black people. How do these leaders think about it? Our conclusion is drastic in its assessment. Let's go for it. You have to ditch pagan gods. Although Malcolm X started to see the light that melanin-dominant humans had the real original spirituality when he visited Hamid, he was still psychologically locked into the Eurasian God frequency, which was introduced to him by the nation of Islam. For anyone elsewhere, you have to ditch Allah, to ditch Jesus, to ditch Yahweh, and adopt your ancient African or melanin-dominant ancestry, as well as divinities. Malcolm X's case. Good intention does not count. Malcolm X put up a great fight, but like the rest of us, he never fully left the system. Though he tried, his attachment to Islam strengthened in him when he went to Arabia. He hated whites before, because in America they would never let him be a part of their culture. And assimilation, which is poisonous, worked its way. When he went to Arabia, he found that his light skin did not make him fully black in the eyes of the Arabs, and they accepted him to a degree. It was then that his plantation mentality rose up, and he realized that his anger was not against white supremacy, but against oppression. There is a website and a Facebook page that we are giving that expands on this and opens up a can of worms, but liberates those that will study it. It's in the description below. You should be vigilant. Being vigilant starts by knowing that anybody can be born with African blood, yet that does not make them spiritually aligned to being true to their purpose of being connected to the real ancestors and divinities as melanin-dominant humans, so as to fulfill their life's purposes. Anybody can be born on the continent of Africa, but it still does not make them able to practice original spirituality, which results in cultivating our critical thinking skills of all problems as taught in Kush and Hemet. If you accept this and go on to worship our own divinity in the image of the perfect black, do you accept that? Ask yourself. Thank you. This preacher Rabbi Elem Timizulu saying, remember, you are a true Muntu as long as you worship your ancestors. Have a good day.